Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully
Morning.
that one, hopefully that
Morning.
one got you going. I love when we've got kids dancing in the car. That puts a smile on my face. I saw Hiram getting down as well. Well, I hopefully you guys had a great Monday, and hopefully we can extend our week here on personal finance, and we can add some tips and tricks and share our knowledge collectively on this topic and what's working. So, we talked yesterday, obviously, on expenses and how to track and stuff like that. Today, I thought we would talk about just setting up the basics on our accounts. I think this is a pretty big miss for a lot of people, and I'll be interesting to see today what I get for feedback on this. So, how about just a raise of hands? How many people do their banking at a local credit union or a local bank? I'd say the majority of the people. Okay. How many people do all of their banking online? So drop those hands and now show me anybody that's completely online with their banking. You do not visit a local bank. All right, well, you guys are my people. We got about, looks like online only. We got maybe I would say 10. I think we got some people that are struggling to put their hands up and down. But so online, let's say we got like 10. So me personally, guys, if you can get comfortable with online banking, there are so many advantages to going completely online that I think you got to look at it really, really hard if you're not doing that. So that's kind of what I wanted to chat about today is kind of getting our bank accounts just set up right. At least, what I think is the most efficient way to do it. If you can get comfortable with it. And I'm going to show you some reasons why, even if you're not comfortable with it, maybe we need to get comfortable with it, because I think you're leaving money on the table every single month. So I wanted to break it down today, kind of like three basic accounts that everybody needs, right? We need a checking account, we need a savings account, and then we need an investing account, like a brokerage account. All right, so that's how I wanted to break it down. So first thing I wanted to do was start with a checking account. So when you look at these checking accounts, they have very, very little interest rates to them typically, and they oftentimes even have some fees, which just boggles my mind. Right. So take a look at your checking account and see when money is sitting in there. So we all have money sitting in our checking accounts every single month, or we can't pay our bills. What's the rate that the bank is giving you back? For most of these, you're talking about like 0.05%, right? You're not getting much money back. And then maybe on top of that, they're charging you some fees. So you're not going to crush it on checking accounts for getting some money back from the banks. But today I want to really focus, like the theme is beat the banks. So if we could even get a 0.5%, that's not bad. If you have a few $1,000s in your checking account that's sitting there every month, a 0.5% adds up. So when you go to these online checking accounts, that's what you can get. You can get a 0.5%. So my personal, doing the research, personal favorite is Schwab. One of the things that you've got to watch out for is limits. So like when I was doing my banking at my local credit union, my mobile deposit limit. So I got a check, I scan it, and I put it in was $10,000. So in real estate, I mean, we do hit some big checks, and that's going to be difficult. So Schwab allows up to 25,000 on a mobile deposit. Take a picture of the check, and it can be scanned in. So I love Schwab for that. They got a high limit on their mobile deposit, and you're getting 0.5% on your interest rate. All right. Anybody have any questions? Let's just stop there on checking, because I think those are the key things for checking is I've got to be able to cut checks, and I got to be able to get a decent interest rate on my checking account. So anybody have any questions on checking? Pam, I think your hand is just still lingering. Or did you have a question? I'm going to just lower your hand because I think, yeah. Keely.
What if you need like a bank check cut? Like say you're buying a property or something and I needed a bank check. How
Yep.
do you go about that if it's just strictly online?
You're going to wire.
Okay, you're gonna wire instead.
Yep.
All right.
You're going to wire. Yep. Yep. And a lot of these have, very low wire fees. So, and to be honest with you, I have not, since I moved to online checking, I have not needed a bank check. I gotta believe that there's some way that they could do it. So, but you could definitely wire, but that's your worst case. So, but great question, and I'll jot it down and see if there's some. Does anybody else know that does online checking? Is there a way to get a bank check?
You can normally order them online.
And they'll just mail it to wherever you want it to go, Meg?
Yeah, that's a couple of my clients have had to do that. It takes a little bit longer, so as long as
Yep.
you let everyone know ahead of time, they're typically fine with it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But if you need it in a rush, Keely, you're going to be able to do a wire and pretty low fee. Any other questions on checking? All right. So the next recommendation now is we need a high yield savings account. So this is where you can get a big gap. So savings account at my local credit union, which was a large credit union in the area, I was getting I believe 0.3% in a money market. In my savings, I think it was like 0.1. And so obviously I was keeping all my savings in the money market side. I was getting 0.3. High yield savings today for banks is 5.3. We're talking about 5% difference. And I mean, I looked up some of the other, like Westfield Bank was like 0.3 on their money market. Bank of America was like 0.05. TD Bank had something decent. It was 2%. If you got over 100,000 sitting in your money market, then they would get you up to 4%. But we should be able to get mid fours all day long on these high yield savings accounts. So you do have to look at how often can you transfer money in and out, right? So look at what your daily transfer limits are, what your max transfer limits are. But there's a bunch of these. The few that I've used based on rates are City Accelerate, Citizens Access. Schwab, the checking company, actually has Margaretta on that Berkshire Bank. Is there a number that you have to hit on that? Is there a minimum? A lot of the local banks, it's like to get that 4% rate.
Yeah, I think I
100,000.
was like, I think for the Berkshire Bank, and I don't know if it was just a special offer. I know they have it now because I was looking into them, but like it was something you have to have like 10,000 in it to start off or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have found the local banks just can't compete on this. They'll run a special, they'll get you in. I mean, these high yield savings online, it's there whether you have $1 in there for most of them or you have $100,000 in there. And there's no real, I'm wasting time if I have to go to the bank and deposit a check, so, these mobile scan on your phone is just so much easier. Yes, Keely's asking about ATM cards. Absolutely, you're going to get an ATM card. And I don't know, I mean, I've never used an ATM, or I haven't used an ATM in I don't know how long, because being a landlord, you do come across a good bit of cash. So I have not literally used an ATM in probably 2 decades, but you get one, and I know they were screaming and yelling that it was so great because there's no fees on it apparently. So I can use my Schwab ATM card at any ATM, and I'm not going to pay any fees. So I don't know the fee structure out there. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that. for people that ATM cards are really important, that you don't have access to the cash. I don't know if you're paying fees, but I know on the Schwab one, you don't. Anybody want to comment on that?
I think it's typically like $2 or $3 that they charge when you're outside of your bank.
Outside, yeah. So, I mean, I didn't look at if there was any fine print, but it said no fees, any ATM you want for this the Schwab one. So, and I didn't do all the research on best personal checking. There was a bunch of different like bloggers that I read their blogs and stuff on personal finance that were all like kind of leading towards the Schwab one for being one of the best for checking. So, okay. So that's high yield savings. You know, just look into that. I mean, even if you have $2,000 sitting in your savings account, you'd rather be getting 4.5%, 5%, you know, on it than getting 0.5% or 0.3. Anybody else that's doing online banking, you know, want to just chime in to be like, hey, you know, here's something else to think about if you're nervous about making the switch or anything like that. I just have found it to be so easy, but maybe I'm missing something. Corey.
A lot of the banks too, if you have your mortgage with them, they'll waive that $10,000 minimum. It's a congregate of all your accounts. So I know Bank of America used to do that. I don't know if any others, but you know, figure out where your mortgage is, and a lot of times that lending company will have accounts as well for you.
Okay. I don't want to be doing any specific bank bashing, but man, every blogger on the planet that talks about this stuff will just not lay off a Bank of America. Apparently, I've never really done any banking with them, but notorious for fees, low interest rates, etc. So I'd be
Yeah, all the bigger banks are notorious for all that. But yeah,
that stuff.
a lot of them, you know, find out where your mortgage is, or maybe refinance your mortgage to a local credit union, and that number will be an aggregate of all of them.
Okay, Stu.
I know my mother was talking about putting $10,000 in a CD, and at the end of I think a year, she was going to make two grand on it. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, that would be a 20% return. 10,000 if you got 2,000. I've never seen 20%, to be honest with you. I've never understood a CD. I've at these 1 year, 2 year, 3 year CDs, they're paying out, I don't even know, 1%, 2%, 3%. I'm getting 4.5 on a high yield that I can have my money tomorrow if I need it. So I've never understood the CD game. And right now they are extremely unfavorable because your money is tied up for that 1 year. So, but if that's true, I mean, I don't know of any investments that you're getting 20% back. So my guess is that was a 2% CD, Sue, and she's going to get 200 on her $10,000. So, Jason.
No, the CDs for a minute, I don't know if it was because I put some money into a CD because they were at like 5%. I was just like, screw it, and I did it all online. It was like through Synchrony, or is that the right bank I'm talking about? I don't know. It was super easy to drop some money in there, and yeah, I'm getting about the same amount return. Like, so I don't know what they are right now, but for like a period of time, maybe a year or two ago, they jumped like over 5%. So it's kind of worth it if you wanted to just throw some money in there.
Yeah. I've never seen CD rates. I don't know. I guess I don't check that often, but I also just don't like having my money tied up anywhere, you know? So, Carolina.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I have my daughter's money in Polish National, and it's over 5% right now.
On a CD?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's every 6 months. We move the money around.
It's a 6-month CD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. So look, if you can get 5.3 on an online and you can have your money tomorrow if you need it, but you know you're not going to need it, and you can get 5.5 in a CD, you can get an extra 0.2% and you're okay with that, do it. Right? Like the rates matter. But know what you're investing into, right? You've got just your savings. Those are typically very low. Money markets, you're going to get a little bit better rate, and there tends to be no, delay. So I've never understood what the hindrance would be of putting money in a money market versus just your regular savings account, because I had full access to it. And then the CDs come where now your money is locked in. So I don't know, maybe you can get it, but you take a penalty or something for it. But once I discovered high yield savings, I was like, why do I want to tie up in a CD if I can get a high yield savings and I can have my money tomorrow? Any other comments on checking, savings? Okay, so then we'll just move to the final one, which would be your investing account, right? So the goal for most people should be, once you've got your expenses tracked and okay, it cost me $6,000 to run my household or me, my individual, right? Let's just use a number, 6,000. You're going to want a month and a half worth in your checking, so that you just don't, nothing doesn't get paid. So if you have a month and a half in there, what is that? $9,000. Once you're over that, we want to start moving money into these high yield savings or other investment opportunities. So the last piece would be doing some actual investing. So you need a brokerage or an investing account. Some of the top names here are, you could stay with Schwab, Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, and Vanguard are some of the best accounts where they've got low fee, low trade numbers. As far as if you start to do some investing and moving money around. So that would be your final account that you would need for your kind of financial setup. Anybody have any comments on brokerage accounts, investing accounts?
I'd say to definitely check out Vanguard in terms of Roth IRA, because they have pretty good return. Like even when the market is down, they still would have a return. Definitely something I would recommend to check out or look into.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a day, Indy, on the actual investing. There's a lot to know on those investing accounts, and we can talk about the different ways once you're in a position to do that, because we also got to spend a day on debt and how to do repayment, and make sure you're in a position to start doing actual investing, right? I think some people can say, oh, I'm investing over here, but you're paying 17% on a credit card, right? We shouldn't be investing to get a 7% return if you're taking 17% losses on your credit card, right? So we'll spend a day kind of talking about that and when it starts to make sense to be doing your investing. All right, I had a couple other things, but let's see if we've got any real estate, because we're over the halfway point. So does anybody have anything specific on a real estate deal going on right now that they need help with?
Actually, I have a odd situation. I have a client who's in Connecticut. She's an old friend of mine, and I referred her over to a client in Georgia. And she's selling her house down there. And the agent sat down with her and gave her three options. She told her she can do a short sale, which doesn't make sense because she's current on her mortgage. She told her to sell her property off market. She gave her a contractor with repairs of up to $85,000. And then she told her she could sell it to her. She'll give her $2,000 now to put her name on the mortgage. She'll take over the mortgage payments and do all the repairs on the house. And then when they sell it, she'll give her $10,000, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So I'm just
I mean,
seeing.
how'd you find this agent, Amber?
So I went to
Yeah.
an event in Michigan and I met her there. And then I referred her over. I do have another agent because we're probably going to switch because I'm not sure about this whole situation. It just doesn't all
Yeah.
seem right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like an
Yeah. I
investor
mean,
trying to, sounds like she's
right.
trying to take her
Yeah.
house underneath her. Exactly.
Right. Right. Was it an investing conference that you met her at?
No, it was like a mortgage conference.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's some agents that are trying to do that stuff. So I mean, the first thing though that let's just talk about that you mentioned was she recommended that she do a short sale. So a short sale is when you can't sell it for what you owe on it, and there should be very few people that would be in that situation right now. So I don't even know why that would be an option. Do you
Right.
happen to? Yeah, like there should be.
Yeah.
You can't do a short sale unless you can't pay off your mortgage for what you can sell it for.
And she also currently has tenants in place. So the tenants are paying the exact amount for the mortgage. So like they're like cent to cent when it comes to mortgage. And she was telling her that she has to get the tenants out of there in order to do any work. She also told her that once she gets the tenants out there, she'd be responsible obviously for paying the mortgage. And she told her that was fine. She'd have no problem paying it while it was empty until it got sold. But then she, offered this investment her scenario. So I think what she's trying to do is play on the fact that she might need cash now. So she's like, look, I'll give you 2,000 now. And same with like putting her name on the deed. I'm like, why would that even be necessary? Yeah,
Right.
so the whole thing is just weird. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one and there was something else I didn't know about.
No, so look, I mean, also, and this isn't very standard for doing a referral, right? So typically when you do a referral, you're going to probably talk to a few different agents. You're going to, see what their backgrounds are like, see if they can handle this. And then you're going to pick one and you're going to say, hey, look, I've got this referral for you. And you're going to make the connection and get the paperwork signed. In this case, maybe it makes sense to just have a couple of different agents actually go out to the property. Right. So in a normal situation, you might interview 3-4 agents, you do your research, you talk to the agents and you say, all right, this is the one that I want to give the referral to. So you called them all up initially and said, hey, I might have a referral for you. Can you just tell me a little bit about your background, how long you've been doing this? How, do you sell in this area, et cetera, et cetera. And then you pick one, right? But in this case, maybe you just are going to send 3 different agents out there, so there would be no reason why you couldn't do a referral agreement with 3 different agents and see if somebody else gives her another opinion. I think
Yeah,
that's
that definitely makes sense. And then the house is like the top of the house is fine. The basement is definitely beat up and there's some water damage and maybe some mold that needs to be taken care of. So I thought the $85,000 quote was also a little unnecessary. I feel like they were like talking about painting the entire interior, redoing the entire exterior. There was just things on there that I didn't feel were necessary, especially if she was gonna sell it. Like it's almost like they're redoing the whole house, but then selling it
yeah,
for someone. So I also
yeah,
think it might be her contractor that she's using to give a quote.
right,
So they're like, yeah, throw everything on it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you're just going to have to get a little bit more involved here and get a couple more opinions and get people out there. Just seeing Carolina's putting in the messages here that, have you seen the market analysis? I don't know if she actually did one. If you wanted to get even more hands-on, you could say, hey, can you just send me the market analysis that she did to see what do these sales look like that she's comparing it to, so you can see if the numbers that she's giving the lady are, comparable to other properties in that market.
Yes, I did. I asked for the comps and they are not close to what she said.
Yeah.
When I did the math myself, even if she spent the $85,000 to get the repairs done herself and kept paying the mortgage, she would still walk away with 135,000. So
Yeah.
I don't know why she's trying to give her only $10,000 off the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not a plug for or anything, but if you wanted to have us do the research, you can just submit the referral through Refer. They'll do the research. We'll get you an agent that we think would be suitable for this job in that area. But you can also do the research yourself and try and find somebody. But I would just, this is what Refer is doing, right? We're trying to get people on the phone, see what their background is, see if they're capable of handling it. So we're trying to do all of that work for you guys, 3-4 agents, get them to call you back, et cetera, et cetera. So at this point, you're pretty hands-on, and I think maybe you just keep doing the work, but talk to some more agents, see if you can find a top agent in that market that can handle this one.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I'll probably go through
Yep.
Refer this time.
Yep. Anybody else have a situation? All right, I'll give you just a couple more things that I had jotted down if we had some time. Is just getting some automation going with these different accounts. If we can, let's see what I had for notes. Obviously, once you know those expenses, if you know, hey, $5,000 is coming in, every single month, and I know I need whatever, $3,000. So I've got a little bit extra that I can transfer out. You could set up automatic transfers to come from your checkings to your savings. We don't want to have any more than that 1.5 sitting in that checking if we can help it, right? Because we're losing, if you're, let's say, at 5% versus 0.5% on your checking, you're losing 4.5% every month on that money. So we don't want a lot of money sitting in that checking account. So we want to pull money out of there on a regular basis. And then automation of the payments through, situations like e-bills. So if you're doing online banking, a lot of the companies, utility companies, will allow for just automatic payment. That utility bill comes in, it just automatically gets paid. So any time that we can save from, like, getting a bill in the mail, opening it up, handwriting a check, and then mailing it in and wasting your own money on a stamp and stuff like that. So if you can set up those e-bills, I would highly recommend that. Some of the credit card companies will allow you to pay directly as well. So it just, you can just set it up. Hey, I want this money to come out of my checking, whatever the balance is, take it out of my checking at the end of the month. And because remember, like, these credit card companies, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but some of these up to 75% of their income is coming from the transaction fees that they're charging. So every time you swipe your card, right, they're charging a transaction fee. And only, like, I don't know, whatever, 30 to 40 maybe is coming from interest that they're charging the customers of that bank. So the majority of their income comes from every time you guys swipe, right? So if they charge 2.5 and they're giving you on average 1.5 back on whatever cash back or whatever they're doing, they're keeping that 1% difference. Amex is kind of famous for having that higher. I think they charge like 3.5 to their vendors, which is why some of the, some places won't take an Amex card. And then they're giving you maybe a little bit more back in perks and stuff like that. So those Amex perks tend to be a little bit better, but they're also charging higher transaction fees, which is why you can't use it everywhere. So, Jen.
I've noticed recently that a couple places will charge me more if I use my credit card. Probably
Yes.
to cover that fee.
To cover that fee. Yep. Yeah. It's pretty rare. I mean, it's tough for people to kind of fight at this point. We're in a credit card society, but I have seen that as well. What else did I have? Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if you can't do an e-bill or an auto pay or whatever, then just trying to bulk do your bill pay, a couple of times a month. Not every time a bill is coming in. Just have a place that they get set aside, and twice a month or something, you go over and you pay the 3 or 4 bills that you can't do automatic. But anything that you can do automatic or you can pay online, obviously, just going to save you some time and energy. And then the final automation would be, once you've got your kind of emergency fund set up, getting money over to your investment accounts, right? So we know I need 1.5 months in my checking. Then I need in my savings, ideally, I've got 3 to 6 months of reserves of whatever it costs me to run my household. And then you want to put that, anything past that, you really should be looking at some sort of investment accounts. And a lot of these brokerage accounts, they have what are called sweep accounts. So I'm personally a fan of Vanguard for the investment account. I really like their products. So if you take money out of your savings and you put it with Vanguard, I'm actually getting higher right now on that sweep account with Vanguard. I think I'm getting like 5.3% than I am in my high yield savings. And it doesn't mean I have to invest into their products. I have it just sitting in a Vanguard account that I can invest if I'd like to. Right. And so once you've got 1.5 in checking, 3 to 6 months, whatever you're comfortable in reserves, you should really start to look at finding that brokerage or investing account that we can have that money sitting in, still gaining a nice interest rate every single month. And then if you choose, investing that money. That would be the kind of final automation as you would just start pulling. If you don't need money to go from checking to savings because you've got the reserves are sitting there, then you have it start going from checking over to a brokerage or investment account. Any questions on automations? Anybody else have another automation or something else that can make the process more efficient? Any other just general tips or strategies on checking, savings, or investing accounts? Okay. Well, as always, if there's something that you just didn't feel comfortable asking on the call and you want to shoot me a message directly, please feel free to do that. Hopefully, you picked up some sort of a tip or trick on today's call. Plan is, we're going to do a day on debt management, right? How do we, if we are in a position where we need to tackle some debt, how do we do that? I want to talk about some expense optimization, some cost cutting and savings increase measures. And then a day, on that same day, I think I'm going to do some investing stuff. So talking about IRAs, robo-advisors, financial planners, funds. We'll spend some time on that. And then on Friday, I want to spend the day specifically to real estate stuff, right? Business versus personal cards, tracking mileage, home office expenses, stuff that, cell phone usage, good cars for real estate agents. Like, let's get into the nitty gritty and have you guys just share some stuff on top of whatever I bring that you guys are using on a daily basis that's just making it easier to get your finances right as a real estate agent out there. So we got a couple more days this week that I think we're going to add some real value to you guys, and hopefully collectively we can get all the best tips, tricks, and strategies out there. So appreciate you guys. Go crush your Tuesdays, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning at 8:30. Take care.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.